Welcome back to my channel, and today we will be talking about variables in C Sharp. For the most part, we'll be discussing about how to use variables in C Sharp. Like I said in the last tutorial, so variables in C Sharp are the types of data that we want to use or want to process. So we have like string variable, we have like integers, we have like Boolean. We can even use class types as variables. But without further ado, let's just get straight into it. For example, if I want to manipulate numbers, I can have something like int number 1 is equals to 5, int number 2 is equals to 10. Okay, so these are both numbers, so they are using the integer value. Now I want to try and sum up both of these numbers, so whatever I'll be getting in return will still be a number, right? So I'm going to use another integer to as a placeholder for whatever the results will be. Int result, I don't know what the results will be yet. So for the most part, in integer, if we don't know what the result or what the output will be yet, we can either leave it as a variable or we can just assign 0 to it. It's still the same thing. Assigning 0 to it is same thing as leaving it like this. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is I'll try and summarize both of them together, which will be result equal to num1 plus num2. So I can as well shorten the code and just straight up put it here. Int result is equals to num1 plus num2. Okay, so I'll just print out the result. Console.writeLine result, and of course, to make it readable, console.readLine. So we'll see how this works first before we proceed. I just want to make sure everything's been carried along. You can see the answer is 15, right? So I can as well change the value of whatever I have here. But what if I'm not explicitly putting in the value here? What if I want the user to put in the value in there? So I can have something like console.write. Now the difference between the write and write line is write. You can use write if you want to instruct the user to input something like please enter first number. Okay, but the write line will be like if you want to print it out. So int num1 will be whatever user input is equals to console.readLine. So it will read whatever the user input. Okay, now there is an error here. It says cannot implicitly convert type string to int. So by default, the console.write and console.writeLine, you can see it returned a string value by default in the framework. So now we have to cast it. We have to convert it to integer value. So then we have to use a convert dot to can convert to different types, but we'll just go with integer since our value is integer. Convert that to int32, and we will stop seeing the error line there. Okay, so that's taken care of. So console dot so to make code fast, I'll just try and copy and paste it and change it here. Enter second number, num2. Okay, so here I will assign the result value. Result is equals to num1 plus num2. Okay, then I can print whatever the result is out. Console.writeLine result, console.readLine. Okay, let's try that. So it should prompt user to input the value. So enter first number. Let me enter 2. Second number. Let me enter 6. Then if I press enter, it should give me the result. So now this is me prompting the user to input the value itself. So, but in real life, all this will be converted into user interface and text box where user will input their data, and if it has to go into database, it will go in there. But basically, that's how that works. What about string itself? If you want to like play with string, we can have something like enter first name. Since the first name will be a string type, string first name, so we can just keep it as a console, since by default it's a string type. So string last name, okay, same thing here. Okay, so I just want to uh, use the string type as well before we proceed. Uh, then I don't even need to add here. So what I can just do is here is okay. So this should be a string type. Okay, so I'll just do something like first name, first name is plus first name plus last name is last name. Okay, so if we print that out, let's see how that works. It should prompt the user to enter first name. Enter first name. First name might be Jimmy. Enter last name Carter. First name is Jimmy, last name is Carter. Okay, so we can just try to put a space here, so it's much more cleaner. You can do something like John Hopkins. First name is John, last name is Hopkins. So you can see how that works. So for the most part, that's the variable. So I just want to bring to the notice there are also other type of variables. We have something like date time, today. If I want to print that out, I can just have something like console dot write line today dot. You can see it comes up with different variables. If I just put something like today dot now, it should give me something that is like or let me see other types that are in there. Okay, today dot day. Okay, is equals to new date, so we can instantiate that new date time today dot now. Let's see what today dot now will print. Oh, that's not there, sorry. Today dot day, let's see what today's date is. I mean what day we had today. Should print out something. Oh, sorry, console dot read line. So you see that's why you have to always make it readable by putting a console dot read line. Otherwise it just pops up the dialog and it goes off again. So today dot day, so it says 1. Okay, let's see, you can always play with all this. Day of week, see, Monday. Okay, so you can always play with all that. So we also have Boolean type. The Boolean type actually returns true or false. We can have something like bool is C# fun is equals to true. By default, I'm assigning true to it. So if I have something like bool, do I like beer? by default is false. Okay, so if I have something like console dot write line, let's see, is C# font. Okay, console dot write line. Do I like beer? Okay, write line. Okay, let's see how that works. First of all, let's see how that works first. So a C# font by default true and false, right? So if I want to change that, so it's not fun, I can just have this punctuation mark here. Then it's going to change the values. The punctuation mark is actually in C# is not, so it's the opposite of what you want it to be. So then we'll check out the output now. You can see it changed. But by the time we start using the conditional statement like if else, this will make more sense. But for now, just understand that there is a Boolean variable to determine if a condition is true or false. But for now, just know that this exists. We'll eventually get to use it more when we are doing a lot of if else statements. Okay, we can also have data types of class. For example, if we have a student class, we can use that as a data type as well. So to avoid information overloading, we'll work on that on the next class because that's a little bit uh, high level compared to a beginner level that we are currently on right now. So for the most part, that's how a variable works. We have integer types, string types, um, decimal, double, float. We even have variable type. For example, so if I have something like int number is equals to 5, okay, and I want to print console dot write line number, right? So of course, by default, I should get a 5 because integer is the type that I use for 5, so it will print out 5. Okay, that means it is correct. You can see the 5 there. So what if I put something like a name here, a name Johnson? You can see it's telling me that cannot implicitly convert a string into integer type. So this has to be a string. Okay, so that's what we call strongly typed. So at the point of declaring the variable, I'm already strongly, determining the type it will be. Okay, whatever this will be, it must be a string type. Whatever this will be, it must be an int type. So what if I don't know what the user will be imputing, but I need a variable to hold that? So that's where we use the var keyword. The var keyword, if I print it now, it will print Johnson. You see that? Like it will print out Johnson with var keyword. What if I put in a number here? What if I put in a number here? Number of like 15. Let's see. 15 is still printed out. Okay. So that is what the var keyword is like. It's used to, it keeps the option open because we don't know what the user is going to input. Okay, but if we want the user to input a strongly type, that is, this field is only taking numbers, I can use int, or this field is only taking text, I can use string. But there are some situations in real life where you don't know what user will be inputting. Maybe user want to enter an address. Address contains both numbers and text and all that. So that's when we use var type. So it accepts all types. Okay, we can even use var for different types, but we'll eventually get to that point. So for the most part, that's how variable works. And as we proceed, we will uh, look into more other options, and we should be talking about conditional statement, if else, and looping in our next class. Thank you very much, and don't forget to share and subscribe, and also thumbs up, like this video. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next class.